Welcome to day 4 of my solar build, our solar setup. Today on the agenda, it's start the wiring. The instructions for the inverter charger installation wants a main panel installed before the inverter charger, and then the inverter charger's output hooked up to a sub panel. What that means basically is that they want a circuit breaker before you put power onto the inverter charger. I've been looking for basically a single panel breaker, and every breaker that I find is for DC, not AC. For AC, you gotta find you gotta buy the big breaker boxes. So I'm like, I just need 130 amp, and I don't want to use a fuse, you know, for obvious reasons. I don't want to be if you can use a breaker instead of a fuse every time, use a breaker. I'm gonna go to an electrical store this morning that specializes in electricity because I need a few other items. One I mentioned yesterday, which was the terminal connectors. These 4-gauge connectors are kind of difficult to find, so I'm gonna go to the electrical store and see if I can find some of these. I need about 4 more in order to make all the connections that are necessary, and I also need more 6-gauge solar cable wire. They gave me 25 feet for the entire installation, 25 black, 25 red. Solar is DC obviously, so you know, they give it to you in black and red. 6-gauge, really good quality wire, but 25 feet. I'm like, come on. I'm gonna use all that on the roof. How do I get it to the batteries? So I need 6-gauge wire, and the one that's sold at the stores are I think 6-strand. But I always like copying, you know, extending what the manufacturer put up there, so that's why I'm looking for that. If I can't find it, you know, 6-strand works just as good, you know, as long as it's 6-gauge. That way it can handle the voltage and the amperage. You know, they're recommending 600 volts. Anyway, a lot of technical information. It's not really necessary to proceed with the solar project. All you need to do is get 6-gauge and you're good to go. On top of that, I got my Nifty finally. Yesterday it got here. I was kind of worried because it wouldn't get here and it wouldn't get here and it kept getting delayed. But I finally got my solar charge controller. So I'm going to be using this instead of the one that came in the kit, like I've mentioned before. So I'm going to unpack that today and read the instructions and see if there's any monitoring necessary for it or stuff like that. Usually there's not. They're just like little... there's nothing you can do, you know, either it does its job or it doesn't. So you can monitor the battery and figure out if people are treating it, I should say systems are treating it with respect, if that makes any sense. So basically you monitor the battery. And when you monitor the battery, it tells you how many volts is coming in, amps, all that kind of stuff. So that's where you monitor the behavior of different things, you know, how much current is being drawn out of it. If you get a good battery monitor, it's going to tell you all that stuff. So this having a monitor necessarily is not that important, because it's how the battery feels that's important. A solar charge controller can just be installed and hidden away and you're good to go. We'll see how they want the solar charge controller to be treated, so I'll go ahead and follow those instructions. And I'm planning to put this one right under the garbage can. I'm hoping that I don't have to, it doesn't matter. I mean, the cable has to run all the way to the battery, so I can put it anywhere. It doesn't really matter where it goes. I just don't have much room anymore in the main bay, because I have to install a few other things in there. And I have just enough space to complete that task. So if I put this big thing in there, I'm not gonna have enough space. So I'm hoping to put it down there, and we're gonna be good to go. That's the plan. How this comes out, we'll see. You guys, see you in about 8 hours.
Papa, I got you.
Oh, camera bump. Oh, you guys still have the frog?
See?
It landed in that teeny tiny little crack, and then it hopped in back in our tent.
Did it?
And now can I hold it?
Oh my goodness. It's not about who has the iPad next, it's about who can hold the frog.
Reading it to him.
I don't think Nana is appreciative of hopping animals.
I think that I'm going to hiding somewhere by a gated star. Baby, they ain't never gonna find me. I'm a renegade. I could be the one who saved you from this hard place. We could be as one and we'll escape. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. I can feel it, it burns inside me. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. Trust me, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Yeah, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Oh, I won't let you down. We could have the world to ourselves. Going to a place that's far. Staring at the stars for hours. 'Cause you're a renegade. I could be the one who saved you from this hard place. We could be as one and we'll escape. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. I can feel it, it burns inside me. We could run away, we don't gotta stay. I can feel it, it burns inside me. Take away the pain, we can go insane. Trust me, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Yeah, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. Oh, I won't let you down. Some gates never get to open 'cause it's too late. I could be the one who saves you from this place. Baby, they ain't never gonna find me, find me.
So here's where the rubber hits the road. Everything's hooked up, plugged in the RV. So the first good sign is that we didn't trip the house breaker. So that's good. But I have the breaker, the main breaker that I just installed, and the sub panel. I have those breakers turned off. So I'm going to turn them on one at a time and see what smokes. Here goes the main breaker. Alright, it stayed on. Now I am going to put on house power. Now I do the happy dance. So here's the end to day 4, and a lot got done. My little shopping spree this morning, you know, it turned out really well. I found the circuit breaker panel that I was looking for, and I found the stuff that I needed to do the battery hookups tomorrow. I think I'm hoping that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'll review what I need to do tonight. So the sub panel that I installed, that little circuit breaker box, might not have been necessary. Most, you know, no RV that I know of has that, but I haven't seen a solar install like all the way, so I wasn't sure. From what I've seen, RVs that have inverters, they just rely on the circuit breaker built into the inverter to trip if shore power or generator power goes wonky. This company, in all their schematics, they want you to install a main breaker before it goes to their system, and they want you to trip it at 30 amps. I noticed that they have a built-in breaker as well, so I was like, oh God, I had to decide, right? And this is a call that if you're going to do this yourself, you're going to have to make as well. So I just decided to err on the side of caution, and I put a circuit breaker panel before the inverter, and that shuts down all AC to the entire rig coming from external. Whether that's necessary or not, I don't know. Like I said, I just erred on the side of caution and installed one anyway. So it facilitated my installation anyway, because the main was already coming in over here to the main circuit breaker panel. So I just basically removed it, put it into the breaker, took it to the inverter charger, and then the output from the inverter charger brought it back to my main. So the inverter charger has a bypass. So when you're plugged into shore power, it just doesn't do anything except bypass the electricity over to your main panel. When you're not on shore power, then it uses the batteries, you know, if you turn it on. I also installed a little junction box to put all the wires together. I had temporarily just tied them in when we took the dinette table out. A bunch of wires were loose, so what I did was I just tied them all real quick together, and I put everything into a little, into a little junction box, and I plugged in my outlet that we put on the bench. Like I said, when you do stuff like this, as long as you're there and you're getting this stuff done, it needs to be done anyway. So definitely wiring this stuff in such a small space is a challenge. So that's why I ended up taking the entire sub panel out and wired it outside, because it was just too difficult to do it from underneath. It was like, forget about this, I'm just going to take the whole thing out. So it worked out well. As soon as I took everything out, everything went over a little bit more smoothly. The electrical configuration is really not that complicated. What was hard for me was the physical aspect of it. Leaning into that little hole for I think it took me like over 4 hours. That was the hard part. Where to hook up things is really not that hard. Lastly, I noticed that after we cleaned the roof yesterday, I thought I rinsed the RV well enough, but there was all these chemical streaks going down. To the kids' delight, we went ahead and we washed the RV today for real. On the outside, the roof is done. So they're still out there, having it out with the hose. It's been a long day for me, long drives, but I got all the equipment I wanted. I think I have a place to go to get my wire for the solar. I got the solar charge controller finally. That's the black box that I put into the unit right there. If you noticed, I had to squeeze all the wires to the left. I had a feeling I was going to have enough space for that solar charge controller under there, and I do, and it's fantastic. Everything is nice and neat now. That's basically how it's going to look. That's the finished product. That's how it's going to look. I just got to wire, when I start wiring the solar panels. That's another day. For today, I am taking a breather, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.